And if you already have in your head that you want a lower price and kind of use the AI argument to try to leverage the price, then you need to go look elsewhere because that's not even a point of conversation now.
Hey everybody, it's Alan and Victoria from Blue 7 Content. We have been gone a little while. We have really good excuses. We're just not going to give them to you because it really doesn't matter. What matters is what we want to talk about today, and it's a topic that has come up quite often over the last couple weeks with us. We've been talking to a lot of clients about this, and that is maintaining quality when scaling content. So, I mean, obviously, we want to maintain quality that we have as a Blue 7 unit, and then we present forward for the client. But as you scale out, we talk about hundreds of thousands of words a month. How in the world can you keep up with that many and maintain quality? We get that question.
Yeah, I think it's two parts. I think it's process and I think it's talent. And we got both. So it's helpful.
Well, absolutely. And there's two parts to that. In the process and the talent, the first thing, when Victoria and I started writing and doing this writing, because we started with the writing, we're not just people that came by and decided to start a company with no idea of the basis of the company. We were doing this ourselves, but we didn't have guidance. Luckily, we are overachievers typically, and so we figured out how to do it. But a lot of people aren't going to know what you mean when you say, here's a page and here, go write it. We don't let our writers start writing until they've gone through our training process. So could you explain a little bit about what our training process looks like for new writers and people coming in? They still go through, no matter what your experience is, you're still going to go through our process.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want to take it a step back. So like when clients come to us and they say we, are looking to scale, we have not only clients that we have now or clients that we're going to get into. We're looking at scaling from like 10, 20 pages a month as providing to like 100, 200
Mm.
plus. It's hard for these SEO companies to hire writers, keep track of writers as well. So what we've done is we've formalized the freelance writing world in the sense that when you are hired onto our team, we do have a training process because we were there and we know what it's like to be handed something and not know, like really what you want. Now we know that the freelance world has evolved greatly. Now we have client profiles. Now we have endless Excel sheets
Yeah,
of client
yeah.
data. We have keywords that are provided to us, if that's the type of relationship that we've started. Sometimes we have relationships where we do that work and they just provide us the client profile. So, it kind of comes in all different shapes and sizes. But what I mean to say is now we aren't just training writers on, here's an H1, this is how you put it together. We're now training them how to read client profiles. We're training them how to implement the strategies that are provided to us in a way that makes sense, that's easy to read, that meets the goals of the human reader and meets the expectations of the client who's going to read it.
Right.
So and I don't that's nowhere else. I know that. We've looked, we've searched, we've talked, we've
Well, it's not even the
interviewed other
initial training, it's
people.
the continuous, right? You have hosted for years writer training
Yeah.
meetings. So it's not that we're just doing an initial training and then gone for good. We have an open Slack channel that writers are free to participate in as much or as little as they want, but it turns out it's a really good way to connect. And we have our meetings once a month, once every few months, whenever something comes up that
Yeah.
needs to be said, whether it's a client, we have a new client maybe coming in, we want to all talk about, we get our team together and we figure out what that client needs. We look at some agencies that we know of that will hire, they say they have a writing team, but their writing team is going right to Upwork or Fiverr and getting someone to write for them. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing that, but
I mean,
you
that's
got
where
to be
we
upfront
started.
about it You might not get the quality that you're going to achieve when you have a team that has been working with the same clients for a while. It has worked to professionalize over years. It's just kind of the culture we built, right? It's not a fly by night institution, or whatever we do over here is not just something we just flip on and off. It's built into everything we do.
Yeah. And I also think that for our clients, they love the consistency, they love the reliability, and they love how quickly we address any issues that they may have. Very rarely do we get such severe feedback like, oh, you've got this completely wrong, or, the tone was completely off. Very rarely do we get something like that because one, we we are so communication forward at the start that we don't like to leave room for that kind of feedback.
That's true.
But when you're talking about scaling a project, so let's say like your client, started out just 2 a month and we know that that's not really going to move a needle.
No. Might maintain it if you have it going in the right direction, but it's not going to move it.
Maybe, right? So we know that gone are the days though, right? Where you just pump out 50 pages in a week and post them
Yep.
all. Like we know that can't happen anymore, which is kind of fun to have been there,
Yep.
in the world, in the SEO world when that was the thing.
We were writing so much content that absolutely didn't
My
matter.
gosh, I
My lord.
remember writing just like a keyword over and over and over, like keyword stuffing. Like that was such a thing. Anyway.
Horrible, horrible practices, y'all.
But the thing is, like, we know that depending on, I mean, there's multi-factors, right? But let's say you're scaling up to, 25 pages a month. You have various locations, you have various practice areas or various blog topics. It's nice to know that whoever is receiving these topics is someone consistent.
Mhm.
Voice still translates on a page. And I think that's also why I really value the writers that we have on staff is because we can ask them to shift tone or we can
Yeah.
ask them to approach a topic differently and they can totally like rise to
Get
the
more
challenge.
aggressive, take the aggression down a little bit.
Yeah.
We have to
Yeah.
make sure, and we know we have conversations about how you really have to approach a wrongful death page differently than you approach a slip and fall page, because you are dealing with an entirely different set of emotions and circumstances on the other end. That's why
Mhm.
we again have focused so much on human writing, and this leads into kind of what I want to bring up. And a client actually asked me this the other day: Victoria, you were not on the call. They said, at the end of, talking about why, what I plan to do, they said, well, why can't AI do it?
Dude.
Obviously, we're all getting that, right? Everybody hears that, and that's fine. And my answer was, you can, right? You can. Then you run some risks, and I could point you to all kind of different directions on studies to show that mass published AI content doesn't do well. The problem is you can do AI fairly well if you really, really tried and get quality-ish content. The problem is, what Victoria was just talking about and what we just mentioned, is there is a human element that goes into what we do and for our clients that is never going to go away. You can do AI, but you're not going to, you might not realize that that's what's turning people off from clicking the next step later on. I know, I feel, and the people we've talked to come to us and say, we don't want AI. We're coming to you because we know that you guys are writing this stuff. We're not perfect. We make mistakes, but at least it's real people that are going to fix it really fast, right? So
Yeah.
as we scale up, we always give the disclaimer. There's going to be things that happen that slip through, but we
Yeah.
we always fix things fast, and we fix them for free, and we fix them and get it back to you. It becomes the priority if we make a mistake, and that goes into scaling.
Yeah, and I also think that, the amount of time and effort that it takes to train an LLM to do what you want it to do, the energy, the cost of doing that, and also the future cost, right? Like these programs are not free forever. We know that Google already, can flag sites for using AI too much or in an inappropriate way. Like, it's just one of those things that, like, if I always liken it to an artist, right? Like if you look at a Jackson Pollock and you think, I can just throw a paintbrush on a canvas, then do it. Quit looking at the
Yeah.
paint then, go and do it. What we've learned since 2023, going on 3 years now of the integration of these programs is we haven't gone anywhere. Human element hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't. There was like a funny quote that I saw on LinkedIn where they're just like, um, I haven't heard of anyone working less now that AI has entered the
Yet.
chat. It's just
Now, that's
true.
not to say that people haven't been laid off in other industries, but
Oh,
yeah,
let's
yeah,
not
for sure
even
that,
get
yeah,
into
yeah,
that because that's just gonna bite them in the ass as well. And I don't even wanna turn this into that. What I wanna focus on is if you are scaling up in your content, key factors you need to consider are consistency, collaboration, and quick turnarounds. Like, that's it. And when it comes to particularly legal content, you need to make sure that that stuff is legit and that when you're answering the questions that you are especially with like eat, right? When you're answering the call to the page, that you're being really specific as to how, why, what it's going to work. And the best way to do that is to have experienced writers write it.
and we have another layer on top of that, which is an editing layer that we brought up the editors as we grew. When we started, it was just Victoria and I. Then we hired writers, and then Victoria and I edited. And then we had, as we grew, that was not going to be feasible. So our writers come up from, our editors come up from the writing core. We pick people who know what they're looking for, and that has worked out well. But a lot of companies don't even have that editing layer. Like, I can't even
Mhm.
imagine how much would go through if we didn't have that layer there. It's just the nature of the beast, Editing has to happen. We know that. We were educators, and we make sure we
Yeah.
have that implemented in our system.
Yeah. And honestly, like the more I think about it, just kind of in retrospect, AI doesn't even come into our conversation until someone starts talking about cost. That's really it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's it. No one looks at our work and says, "Oh, can AI do it better?" Like no one looks at our strategies and be like, "Oh, isn't blah blah blah." They really the only time I've ever heard it being brought up is usually when we start talking about price.
Yeah.
And it becomes a point of I don't wanna say a frustration because I don't like to entertain it that much, because at the end of the day, if you are someone seeking work, and if you already have in your head that you want a lower price and kind of use the AI argument to try to leverage the price, then you need to go look elsewhere because that's not even a point of conversation now.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want us to use an AI package for cheaper, then you're not gonna get the effects that you want. But anyway, for scalability wise, we do because we serviced agencies that work with high volume, our price point looks very different for that than it does smaller kind of venue places.
Well, yeah, and we have different systems set up for those kind of clients.
Exactly. And it just makes sense, to have that, right? You don't go to Costco to buy 1 hot dog. Well, actually, you do.
Wrong one to use.
It's
To
what
buy
I say,
one
dude.
thing of mustard.
Yeah, you don't go to Costco for a single serving, you go to Costco to get the bulk. And, we have that capability of being the Costco of the content world. And that's something that we jump started straight into that. We didn't
Oh
even
my
have
gosh.
any
We
opportunity.
accidentally fell into that world. It
Yeah, and
just
I'm
happened.
so
And
grateful
we
that we did.
learned on fire.
Yeah, and
Right.
I'm so grateful that we did. I mean, I remember the client that started us, and we are still deep in the relationship with them, and I remember them saying to us, like, "Oh, we break agencies, like, we're gonna
And what they
we."
meant by that was we push agencies to the point where they can't scale anymore.
Yeah,
And guess what? We scaled.
and we scaled more, so,
And we
so
scaled well beyond them. So I
yeah,
mean, that
now we
I
have
wouldn't have maybe we wouldn't have had that jump start had we not started out basically on fire. I want to close out.
that's
And I don't know if you have anything else, but I want to close out on this. What I put on LinkedIn yesterday about I read this book and there's like the 10 commandments of AI and I'm going to go through them. But the first one I had that was on number one, it said, thou shalt not outsource thy soul. Use AI to enhance, not replace. if it writes for you, it thinks for you. And this leads to atrophy at a rapid rate, the book goes on to explain. So that's just the first nugget I wanted to leave y'all with. And that's if you have any questions about scaling content and you want to talk to us, feel free, call us. We are always available to have a chat. Message us, like and subscribe down below. Now that we're back. We are back. We're going to be here once a week, at least in your face. So you get used to this
Yeah.
silliness. So y'all have a good afternoon.